Thank you so much, and really appreciate this remarkable opportunity to have a chance to talk to so many interesting people. To get started, I would like to say thank you to Alvin, Avril, and Kate for putting this together, and particularly to Avril, who's a good friend of mine, who I've known for many years, who gave me this opportunity to get a chance to speak with you guys. And today I'm going to be sharing with you some lessons that I've learned about how to pitch. So I'll begin by just telling you the first rule about successful pitching, and I've prepared 10 rules and tips for everyone to benefit from today. And the first is to introduce yourself. So oftentimes when people are giving important presentations to big groups, they get so excited about whatever it is they have to say that they actually forget to introduce who they are and where they come from and what they do. So my name is Jim. I originally was born in Silicon Valley in California. I've been living in China for the past 13 years. And today I'm actually speaking to you guys from inside of a quarantine hotel. I just returned from an international trip to Singapore, which is why I'm hiding my background, because I'm in a messy hotel room. And the first tip, official tip I'd like to share with you guys today about how to pitch is that you need to build credibility. So if you're pitching to a potential customer, to a potential client, to a potential investor, the first question that's going to be on their mind is, should I trust this person? Should I trust them with my money? Should I trust them with an opportunity for collaboration? Should I trust them with my business? So today, I wanted to explain this and also to validate myself as a person who knows how to pitch. I've spent, in my time in China over the past 13 years, a remarkable amount of time pitching to lots of different types of people. Previously, I had a video production company where I had to sell video production to many large internet companies in China, like Tencent and Meituan and many others, and was able to sell over $20 million of marketing services to these companies. And for my newest business, Relay Club, where I'm wearing a t-shirt today, I've also had to do a lot of pitching lately for investor capital because we're creating a software business and need to find ways to grow the business with investor money. So I've been rejected and had many doors shut in my face in the pitching process, but I definitely know how to pitch, and I'm really excited to share what I've learned with you guys today. And just to get us started, I want to get to my second tip about pitching, which is that in order to successfully pitch, you really need to understand your audience. And for this portion of the presentation, I'm going to request up to 3 volunteers. So if anyone is interested in being a volunteer, you can either send a message in the Zoom chat, or you can just unmute yourself, and I will give you 30 seconds to do one thing, which is to sell me a pen. You can pick up a pen if you have it next to you, but I would like to have at least 1 to 3 volunteers. Do we have any volunteers on the line today? Would anyone like to sell me a pen?
Here,
okay.
I have one pen.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, who's that speaking?
Avril.
Okay, Avril. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds, starting in 3, 2, 1 to sell me a pen.
Okay, hi, Jim. Let me introduce this magic pen to you. So, yeah, so when you have this, when you need to sign anything, it's not only that you can sign on the paper, but so nowadays we are all working online. You can also sign anything online on your computer.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And then
all right, Avril, we've run out of time. So we'll talk about your pitch. Does anyone else want to give me a 30-second pitch for a pen? Any other volunteers? Avril did a great job.
Try.
Yeah, sorry, who's that speaking? I just have to jump through the list here.
I'm raising up my hand. Isabel,
oh yes, Isabel. Yes, please, Isabel. I will give you 30 seconds starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
I understand right now, Jim, you're in a quarantine hotel. We all understand that quarantine is a big mess and is big trouble. And after all the tests you have done, after you pass the 7 days or 14 days, there is a very important session which you need to sign the agreement. And during the agreement, you need to sign with this specific pen, and only with this pen you are allowed to release from your quarantine. So
5, 4, 3, 2. Okay,
yeah,
wow.
so,
Very good. Very impressed, Isabel. Okay, and we'll have one last chance. Does anyone else want to try to sell me a pen? You get 30 seconds. This is your chance.
Can I?
Yeah, sure. Was that Rohit? Is that you?
Okay,
Yeah,
you
Rohit.
Yeah, Rohit,
Shall I
go ahead. Yep.
Okay, let me try.
3, 2, 1, go.
This pen is the most credible and the most dependable thing that you have right now. Okay, the power doesn't go off like in your laptop or your phone. You can write what you want, basically your thoughts, pen it onto paper. You want to exit from that hotel, sign a form, exit from the hotel. You want to write a check, write that. This is a pen that will not let you down because it is not dependent on anything. It has a think and everything. So the most credible and the most dependent thing for you
3,
to completely express yourself
1.
is the pen.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I hope everyone enjoyed this little exercise, and I think everyone did a great job. And what I wanted to just briefly explain is a few things about pitching. And when you listen to Avril's pitch and also to Rohit's pitch, they both told me how wonderful the pen was. They told me about a lot of features of the pen. They told me how great the pen was. They told me that I could use the pen to potentially get out of my quarantine hotel. And this is what most people do when they pitch. They talk about certain features. They talk about certain benefits. They talk about certain things that are remarkable about the product. But if you looked at what Isabel did, she did something different, which is that she started thinking from my perspective. She said, hey, not just saying she has a wonderful pen, but she actually said, hey, Jim, you're in a quarantine hotel. And she was trying to create a sense of demand for me to purchase the pen, which is actually very sophisticated. So I suspect Isabel might have some background in sales because she did a very good job of identifying my needs and then trying to sell me the pen. And this gets to the first lesson and tip for today, which is when you're pitching, think about who you're speaking to, what are their KPIs, and why should they care? The person you're speaking to, you want them to make a change in their lives. But when you pitch to them, it's important to understand who they are, where they're coming from, and what their demands are in order to sell to them properly. And whenever you guys want to practice this, you can also take a pen and try to sell it to your friends and family and see if they'll buy from you. Another thing I would say, tip number 3 for you guys when it comes to the pitching process is don't copy, but you can steal. And what does this mean? So everyone works in different industries. You know, I saw the list of different people who are participating in this event, and people come from a variety of different industries and backgrounds and careers. But we all have something in common, which is that we all have access to the internet. We're all here together on Zoom today. And for me, when I was in the process of preparing to pitch my business to investors, I did a lot of thinking about the story and who to speak with and what kind of narrative to use and what kind of structure to use. But another thing that I did was I went on YouTube and I typed in SaaS pitch. Now, my software company is a software as a service business. And when I want to grow this business, one of the things I need to do is figure out how other people have successfully pitched the same business model to investors. And instead of banging my head against the wall and trying to figure it out on my own, something that was really helpful to me during my pitching process was to go online on platforms like YouTube or Bilibili and look at examples of other successful pitches from people who are in similar industries to you and see how they articulate the benefits of similar products. If you can see the successful ways that they've used to successfully market these types of solutions, you can apply some of those same strategies into your own pitch. So again, you don't have to copy these people. You don't need to word for word copy everything that's part of their pitching presentation, but you can steal the best strategies and the most effective metaphors and build them into your presentation. The next lesson, tip number 4, is to make your slides simple. So this is something I think is really important and very understated, but super key for folks who are doing pitching presentations. And if you want to make a really remarkable presentation, we'll see Lei Jun from Xiaomi here. He just has a few simple Chinese words that I will not translate because one of them is actually a bad word on the presentation. And in this, you'll see that it's a really simple slide, right? His slide has a picture of the product and a slogan. If you look at other industry masters, for instance, Steve Jobs, who we all know from Apple, if you looked at his presentations, it's sometimes just simple words. Something, for instance, here you see the iPhone, Apple reinvents the phone. If you look at modern industry titans, such as Elon Musk, in his presentation, you'll see simple, very simple slides, including, here you just see Model 3, high volume, affordable price. So I think the problem now with often pitching is we assume that we can put so many things on the slides. We have sophisticated design tools and presentation tools that allow us to add many graphics and make very beautiful and complicated presentation slides. But actually, if you look at the most successful pitchers in the world, oftentimes they're really keeping things very, very simple. The next thing I would say, which is very important if you want to have a remarkable pitch and be successful, is to make your pitch short and to leave them wanting more. So this is something that took me a long time to learn in my experiences pitching both to professional investors as well as to corporations. And it's that people in this modern day economy and modern digital economy have a very short attention span. They've done various scientific studies, and people decide usually in the first 8 seconds of a presentation or a video whether or not they want to continue watching. And if you think about platforms like TikTok or Douyin, where content can be played in just 5, 10, 15 seconds, it means that people have a really short attention span. So oftentimes, if you're creating a pitch for your company, for your business, or within your organization, I often encourage people to create a time limit. And so in this instance, I often suggest 3 minutes is a really good personal limit you can apply to your own pitches and presentations. It's really going back to this key idea I explained before about leaving people wanting more. If you go on and on and on and on and explain the benefits and features of whatever product or service you sell, you could lose the person and hit the edge of their attention span. But if you leave them wanting more, by deliberately applying a 3-minute limit or even shorter to your presentation, you can be very successful. Sometimes people also talk about something called an elevator pitch. And this is when you're in the elevator of an office building. You might get only 15 to 30 seconds to have the opportunity to pitch to someone who's important. And if that happens, you might need to condense your pitch even further to a 15 to 30 second version. So brevity is king. We'll talk a bit more about brevity later, but keep it short, leave them wanting more. Tip number 6 is also extremely important. And this one is the most kind of advanced strategy. If there's those of you out there who are more interested in sophisticated pitch strategies, this is the one for you. So there's certain basic things you can do to improve your pitches and presentations. For instance, simplifying the slides, keeping it short. But later in these last few tips, I want to talk to you guys about a few more sophisticated strategies. And this one is about telling a story with a hero and a villain. So we all love stories. As I was creating this presentation, considering which stories to tell or which films everybody would know, I originally had Sun Wukong and some other characters from Chinese mythology, but then I settled on Star Wars, which is a story that I grew up on and a story that's very meaningful to me. And in Star Wars, there's so many interesting characters, but we know who are the good guys. You can see them on this slide on the left side, all the characters in blue. We've got Chewbacca and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker. And the bad guys, we have Darth Maul and Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. And every story that's effective and successful has heroes and villains. So when you think about your story and creating a story that's going to be meaningful, that's going to connect and be memorable for the person you're speaking to, think carefully about who the hero is and who's the villain. I've broken this down on this slide to show you what this might look like when you explain this in the context of a corporate presentation. And this is something called the customer's tale. So step 1 in this story is to introduce someone with a problem. And the someone we're talking about here is our hero, which is the customer. So if, for instance, you're a person who's selling a professional service or product, you want to make the customer the hero. And in step 2, you describe his everyday life and the options he's explored to fix the problem. So although it doesn't sound like a villain here, he's not fighting against some evil monster, you are describing the obstacles and problems that your customer, your hero, is facing when he or she is trying to go about fixing whatever problem they face. And you should describe those problems in a way that's scary, describe those problems in a way that's intimidating, in order to make sure that it's appealing and build up the drama of the story so that's memorable for the audience. In step number 3 of the customer tale, we want to explain how our hero discovered the product and actually how this product solves the issue, or how this product allows the hero to conquer the villain. And finally, in step number 4 of the customer's tale, we want to show the happy ending. So every great story ends with a happy ending. Star Wars ends with the rebels defeating the Empire. We want to figure out a way in our story to show that with your product or with your solution, our hero has been able to conquer the villain and get to a new place that they weren't able to get to before to achieve something new and exciting. And so when we talk about this, I will talk about tip number 7, which is explaining benefits and not features. And this is a really important point, especially if you're in a technical field. One thing I've noticed working closely with engineers and with technical talents is oftentimes they are very passionate and excited about whatever product they're selling. They think it's very remarkable. But unfortunately, that's not enough. And so on this slide, I've broken down some descriptions of different types of products and features they may have and benefits. So for instance, if we're talking about headphones, oftentimes people who are engineers who create the headphones might be focused a lot more on the feature, which is that they're wireless, they connect with Bluetooth. But if you're thinking about the end consumer, the person who's benefiting from the product, the benefit to them is there's no more tangled cords. Similarly, if you consider down the list other categories like a vacuum, an engineer who designed the product might focus on the washable lifetime filter. But for the consumer who benefits from this feature, it's actually much more about eliminating extra cost and allowing them to save money for other areas of their life. So when you guys are thinking about the pitching process, when you're thinking about how to explain why your product is one that the person who you're pitching to needs to purchase, don't really think about the features. This is true for me when I'm pitching my SaaS product. People don't really care about the features that we've built into our technical solution. They care about the benefit. How is this going to save me time? How is this going to save me money? How is this going to allow me to grow my business? Moving on to tip number 8, emphasize ROI, return on investment. So this is a pretty simple one, but it's an important one. And we talked before about the different types of people you can pitch to. You might be pitching to an investor, you might be pitching to a customer, you might be pitching to someone you want to go on a date with in life. There's so many different types of people that you need to make effective presentations and pitches to. And when you make those conversations, when you have those discussions, it's really important to figure out not only what you're providing to the person you're speaking to, but what they get in return. This is something that's very true even for our company now. We're running an early stage startup that is helping Chinese companies in China work with global influencers on social media platforms like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And in our company, we realized that it's not really relevant to sell the product. It's not really relevant to sell the features, for instance, search engine features or CRM features or a variety of other technical features. But what we end up selling is the magic moment where a product that comes from a company or a factory in China is in the hands of a global influencer, and they're able to make an amazing piece of content about that product to promote their brand overseas. So think carefully about the person you're speaking to, as we talked about in the Sell Me This Pen example. Think about what they care about in terms of return on investment and find a way to build that into your pitch. Moving on to tip number 9, this is the rule of 3. And the rule of 3 becomes very important the more you work on pitches and presentations. And it's one that you can use over and over again. And this basically boils down to a key tenet of human psychology, which is that we really are more capable of remembering things that come in sets of 3. So as humans, there's a certain characteristic about our brains and psychology, which means that information that's presented in sets of 3 is going to stick in our mind. Whereas if you present a set of 2 items, it might not be enough. If you present a set of 4, it might be so many that it's not memorable. But 3 is this magic number. And if you use the rule of 3, you can really get people to retain and hold information in their minds. And as I said, it's also the smallest number of elements that's required to create a pattern. And on this slide, I've listed a few examples of rules of 3, effective groups of 3 words that come together into the whole to create a more perfect meaning. So you can see things like stop, look, and listen. You can see things like rock, paper, scissors, the famous game that is played all around the world. Cool, calm, and collected, blood, sweat, and tears. So when you think about your presentation, if you think about shaping a slide, for example, or if you think about shaping an argument or explaining the benefits of your product or service, try to boil it down to 3 easy to remember concepts or ideas, because this is a really easy way to have a message that's going to stick in the mind of your audience, that they're going to retain, that they're going to keep with them as they go forward. So finally, I want to conclude with tip number 10, which is that when you give a presentation, end with a clear and effective call to action. As I said at the beginning, when a lot of people give presentations, they get so excited about the content that they don't actually spend much time introducing themselves, who they are, where they came from, what they're doing. And the same thing often happens at the end. Sometimes when people get to the end of the presentation, they're so relieved that they've gotten through the presentation successfully that they actually just conclude quite quickly and leave the stage. But I think this is a mistake. And so if you spend all this time and energy, for instance, creating a meeting with a customer or finding a way to sit down with an investor or speak with a potential romantic partner, make sure that at the end of that conversation, you can present a clear call to action. This is going to be a specific thing that you'd like that person to do after they've watched your presentation. So in the example of the customer, do you want to set a follow-up meeting with them to go to their office next week to have a meeting with their boss? Or in the instance of the investor, would you like to submit some additional materials that they could consider and potentially invest in your business? Or if it's a romantic partner, perhaps you could set a date with them for the following week. So no matter what situation you're in, whatever you're pitching, definitely find a way to get that call to action inserted to the end of your pitch. So if anyone here is interested in learning more about Relay Club, this is my call to action. Feel free to scan this QR code. I am also in the group chat for the event today. I'm so excited about the chance to come here. Again, I'm very thankful to Alvin, Avril, and Kate for this wonderful opportunity to participate in a remarkable event with so many interesting people. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you so much.